can do now. Ah dear. Thank you to both of you. Incredible Wolfie, thanks for letting me know. And because I restarted OBS because it crashed, as he correctly identified. When it starts up, it automatically starts up with my microphone muted. And I forgot to unmute it. Oh dear. How is everybody? It's nice to have everybody around again. So what I was oh, he went offline. Now I understand your comment, Incredible Wolfie. I went offline. Yes, it was a crash. So Bubbles, what have you been up to lately? I don't think I've actually caught you streaming. Not to be honest, it's a busy time at the moment, so I haven't been particularly looking in detail, I guess. But oh dear, I'm doing some Micromaille here, and I'm working. You're studying programming. Oh. You've gone over to the dark side. I've never studied programming. I've done it for many years, but I've never. Unfortunately, Super Speedy. I mean, a lot's happened in 18 months. From me almost losing my job and things like that, and getting a new job, and moving home, moving studio, and one or two other things. So I do remember the name Super Speedy. Unfortunately, I don't remember much more than that, I'm afraid. But I do recognise that, which in a way is really daft, because I remember people's faces, I don't remember people's names, but of course on Twitch chat that's kind of difficult. So I am at the moment going to do, well, maybe end up doing some Micromaille tonight, but I was going to extend this. But these are 3.2mm rings, and they're really tiny, and I've got a lot of them to open and close. So you're studying programming. Any particular languages, Bubbles the Monkey? Or just conceptual programming? Oh yeah, no, I do. I'm calling you Super Speedy again, Anna, because that's in my mind. I apologise, Incredible Wolfie. Why do you change the name, by the way? Yeah, you're quite welcome to do so, of course, but why change the name? Yeah, I remember the name, I just unfortunately don't remember anything else. You know, it's what I often find, like with names, and not names, normally faces, but in this case names, is I'll recognise it, but that's about it. I'll recognise it. Basic programming. Do you mean basic as in beginner's all-purpose symbolic instruction code, or basic as in not very high level programming? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Incredible Wolfie. I mean, that's why mine's Zaragonaut everywhere. I only have to remember one. And everything else is the same. Web development, Microsoft certificates. What in the various web scenarios? Bubbles to Minky, entry level certifications. Oh, okay. PHP. Not actually ever done any PHP. I did some ASP, and actually, I haven't done much web stuff at all. It's something I keep meaning to play with, because you know, it's easy enough to spin up a web server, either on the internet or locally here, and there's a few things I want to do, and it would be a lot easier if I could, you know, write a web application to do them. Just because it is so easy to spin up a database, and I keep meaning to do things like learn PHP, or maybe, I don't know, maybe one of the Java languages or something like that. I don't actually know what's a good web application design language. You did because you found it pouring. Can't actually see. Can't actually quite see. Well, I can't see why you'd find programming boring. It's to me, it's usually there's a challenge of some kind. It's in doing it. You know, I'm trying to achieve something. And a lot of what I like programming is what I call physical programming. So I'm getting something in the real world to interact with a computer. Whether that's, I don't know, something like in a game where you've got an external display, or you've got some sort of control thing in your hand which is controlling something in a game. Yeah, it does indeed take the right project, doesn't it? To I think I have that issue with just about everything I do in art these days. It's sort of just looking for that one thing that sort of will trigger my imagination. I mean, the other day I was watching, is it Lady Luthien, I think, doing some art in using pastels and some really nice vivid saturated colours, and that was kind of inspirational. Because I think I saw some of her sort of sunsets and they just look so beautiful. I actually wanted to have a go. And for some reason I keep having an image in the back of my mind, a couple of images in the back of my mind. One of them is a canal boat, and the other one is something like a high-speed train, but coming towards me, but with fog in the distance, so it disappears into fog. And there are a couple of images that I keep thinking I've got to find a medium to do those in. Your homework is boring. Well, the only time I've ever done any programming at college was microprocessor programming, and I forgot what it was. 6809, I think, off the top of my head. And at the time, I was able to write 6802 assembler, and it's largely those two languages, two processors are compatible. So when I was in the course, the teacher would, or the lecturer, would write the assignment on the board for the homework. Everybody else in the class would write the assignment down so they could do it as homework. I'd write the answer down. So I never had any homework to do. Because I could write assembler that fast those days. Yeah, well, unfortunately, the Royal Mail does like to pay, you know, to require you to pay them to do a job. Of course, I could always put the price up and make the shipping free, but you pay for it. Unfortunately, you pay for it either way. Sorry about that, but I mean, if I show you this, for example, this took something like about 12 hours to create. So, you know, it's and to be honest, there's no way I could, well, it's very unlikely I'd ever be able to sell it for, you know, what it actually costs to make. If you take manpower into consideration, you know, you'd be looking at over sort of around about £100 for something like this, and it just does not look to be worth that. But it's the time taken. There's almost 500 rings in this, and it takes about 2 hours to do an inch to an inch and a half of that bracelet. You mean the braces are that the bracelets are that expensive? The shipping is. Oh, the shipping isn't, or aren't. Oh, the bracelets aren't that expensive. The shipping is. Okay. Well, to be honest, at the moment, the bracelets are somewhat discounted, but. Unfortunately, the shipping costs that are on Etsy are about, they're not far off cost price, to be honest. For example, there's no margin in there physically. I mean, if it was a business, okay, then the shipping charges would actually be more than that. Well, I suppose that depends. The problem is the volume. If you were taking sort of 50 of them to a post office in this particular case, then you'd share the time it takes to you know, like half an hour, whatever, amongst 50 lots of shipping, and therefore, you know, it sort of works out like that. When you're only taking one, if you take half an hour, I mean, you think what you'd like to get paid for an hour's work and half it. Well, you know, it's that sort of thing. But there's no way I'm actually charging that, because I kind of couldn't. It would be absolutely silly. But of course, you know, you can do the trick, which a lot of people do, which is they put the price up and make the shipping free or cheaper. Unfortunately, you pay for it either way, and I'm actually not that sure. Are people really daft enough to realise that if your shipping's free, it means you pay more for the product than you would be if you had to pay for the shipping? I don't know. Yeah, okay, fair enough. You make iron. God, that's literally iron, as in the metal, or do you mean something else? But or do you mean an iron as opposed to iron the metal? But yeah, that stuff would be expensive to ship. It's heavy. At least I'm shipping aluminium. Most of the time, I can do that in the UK as letter post, which at least brings the cost down. If I actually had to ship it as parcel post, it'd be about twice as expensive. Oh, name tags and stuff. Okay. Oh, you cut stuff out of sheet. Okay, yeah. That's interesting. You, yeah, you sell them, obviously, because you're shipping them. You have anywhere where we can take a look at that sort of stuff? You can't post a link, but I'll let you post a link if you let me know you want to do that. Always interesting to know what people do. So what do you do in that case? And do you favour the put the price on the item and make shipping cheaper, or do you actually make people, or not make, but you know what I mean, cause people to pay the shipping charge separately? Later tonight. Okay. Yeah, I've now been programming bubbles for probably about 35 years, and I'm kind of what I would describe as a tactical programmer. So I kind of are doing things for a specific need at the time. As I'm not very good at sort of planning ahead with programming. I kind of start with, I know what I want to do. I'll write a little bit of code. I'll do a iterative testing, if you like, and then I'll extend it and add a bit more and keep testing it, add a bit more and stuff like that. So I'm not the sort of coder that can sit down, write 2,500 lines of code to complete the whole thing and then debug it. I just can't do that. I kind of like to see the progress as I'm going along. Okay, Incredible Wolfie, have a great evening. Yeah. We're not out of the UK. It's not too bad in postage, I guess, because of the it tends to be the same, similar enough price most of the place. I know at the moment the all the bracelet prices actually on Etsy are actually too cheap. They are somewhat discounted. They've been like that for a while. I really ought to sort of revise them and actually make them more of a commercial price, because they are somewhat cheaper than they should be. Which is something I kind of don't like doing, because it's a lot of the people that sell things on places like Etsy are doing it as a hobby, and all they're looking to do is to recover the cost of the materials, and so they sell stuff at below economic value, which makes it really hard to compete against. Which is it makes it a difficult sort of proposition. So, Bubbles, are you at sort of college full time learning programming, or is this you have a job and the courses is part of that part of work, so to speak, or is there some ulterior motive behind the course? Are you going to become a world famous web programmer? Full-time learning. Okay. Well, certainly there seems to be quite a lot of demand these days for people who can actually do web programming, and that's different to the people who think they can do it. Oh dear. I mean, I'm not a web programmer. I have some database experience, programming databases, and some of that, the skills sort of do tie in a little bit with web programming, because I see, well, I was about to use a term which is invalid. I was about to say amateur programmers, and that's what I am, as an amateur programmer. But there's I see a lot of people at work who, because of their job, they've developed something to help them do their job, and then they've tried to roll it out to, you know, to the group of people that they're working with. And there's a heck of a difference in database programming between a single user thing in a database and multiple users. When you start into concurrency and race conditions, and I can see things like the parallel with that with web programming as well and things like that. So it's I can guess you're having an interesting time. It's now something like 30 years, I think, since I was last at college, so I actually find these days I learn better by actually doing something. So, you know, to learn web programming, I'd actually have a project to do that I would learn how to do it as I do it. You know, so I go along the lines of, you know, I need a web page. Okay, well, how do I get a web page? You know, and okay, well, I need to style this page. I suppose I should use CSS. Well, okay, what do I have to do to use CSS3? And things like that. And I actually that's how I learn. I'm not one for abstract learning these days. Going into a course where they say, you know, this is what things are. Oh, blimey, that sounds interesting. Register and login system. Yeah. So now you know all about security, encryption, and data protection, he says, hopefully. Right, I've opened all these rings. Now I need to close another pile of them, and then I can actually start weaving these things. Do all this, and then I can just get on with the weaving, and then that bit in itself goes a lot faster. But so I may end up doing a whole stream of nothing but opening and closing rings. It does get you that way. It really does get you that way. I last did any security actually last time I did any was security programming, was kind of the same thing actually. I had an application on it was written in ASP, and I wanted people to be able to log in, so they would have profiles, and we had sub managers who managed some multi-level authorizations and management, which proved interesting. But no, these days, because of the website and because of the shop and taking payments and things, then I've had to sort of learn a lot of stuff about UK. I'm in the UK, so UK data protection, registration, the credit. What's the credit card thing? Something. There's a set of, I won't say standards, but a set of criteria you have to meet to be able to handle credit cards. And then there's that's on top of actually getting whatever it is that you want to actually. And of course, because you're a shop in the UK, you've got distance selling regulations. Actually, you've got most of that through Europe. So that's how I learnt a lot of things just well, a year ago now, but recently, because you had to learn all that to be able to set the shop up. They actually have to ask you permission to do that. Yeah, indeed. Turn your phone off completely. Kill the radios anyway. Then they can't. But in the UK, somebody doing that would actually, without asking your permission to do it, would actually be illegal. They actually have to ask your permission to store that data, because your phone identification is personal information, and for them to process that, which includes storing it, requires that they have your permission to be able to do it. And not only that, not only do they have to ask your permission to store it, they have to tell you how they're going to use it and in what circumstances. And if they don't do that, or they do something that they haven't told you about, that's illegal, and it can be fairly hefty fines. I can't actually remember where you are, Bubbles the Monkey. In the world, that is. But I mean, technically speaking, it's the same in on the internet as well. You know, because your web browser potentially gives away quite a bit of information if it's asked, and of course, a lot of web servers will automatically collect it. Things like the refer and stuff like that. It's debatable quite how much that's personal information, and so. You've got to remember that as well. Netherlands. Okay, well, of course, you'll have the same sort of thing over there. My apologies. I'm getting old. My memory isn't as good as it used to be. I used to enjoy watching you do the perler stuff, so it's kind of missed seeing that. I'm trying to think now if I've seen anybody else do any just recently. Okay. It's it's kind of weird in a way. One of the things part of my job, my day job, is I look after a financial database for the company I work on, or a financial reporting database, and it's on a Unix machine. And the application has got something like about 1,500 tables in the database. And it kind of surprises me that I remember the names of most of them. I mean, I couldn't sit here and tell you them all now. But when I want to go look for something, I know which table to look in. And it just pops out of my memory. Same with the Unix commands, because the database is on a Unix system. And I can remember all the file paths, and there's something like about 6 directories down, and there's quite a lot of them, and yet I kind of just remember where they all are. I was teaching somebody today how to do the job that I do for resilience purposes, and it was kind of like yes, you can read all the process notes, because we write extensive documentation so that we know how to do all these things. And it was, I was sort of going through, and you go, well, you go in this directory here, and it's, how do you know it's that directory? Well, you can spend half an hour looking it up, or when you've done this enough times, you remember where they all are. But it kind of stopped me for a while as to think, how on earth did I get to the point where I can remember sort of 1,500 tables, not in detail, but enough to be able to sort of get to them when I need to, and know what's in them, and where where everything's stored in the file system, and it's kind of it's quite interesting in a way, because also we have a systems designer who does the enhancements to the application. And when we need one, he comes to me and asks me how it works. I'm kind of unusual in the business in that I'm a business user that understands how these things work. So I mean, it's nice actually, because I get involved in a lot of things because I understand both the programming and the business. But yeah, it is like that. It's the same way that you know where your house is, because you've done it that many times. And actually, I've only been doing this just since April last year. It was quite when I got the job. The reason I got the job was because of one question, if you like, and that was they asked me, not actually. It was not the first question they asked me. It was a kind of a secondary question on something. But they asked me about something that I'd done, programming-wise, developed, and then they said, "If you had to do it again, would you change anything?" And of course, my answer was probably, because I've learned something doing it, and I'm always learning something. So everything, nothing's ever perfect. There's always room for improvement. And that was the answer that got me the job, because the other person that they interviewed basically said, "No, why would I want to do that?" And so I got the job, and the bit I liked was it was first day on the job, and showed me how to do things. And it was the first sort of question at that point was, do you understand SQL, SQL? And I'd just spent a year or so working with databases at fairly low level, so it's kind of a little bit. And the bit I really enjoyed was because the documentation wasn't too bad. I was taking over from somebody, and on my second day, I was doing most of the job, because it was so similar to what I'd already been doing. It was absolutely, it was really fun. And since then, I've learnt an awful lot. And I've written not an awful lot. I've written quite a few programs in that time as well now. Where I am, we're kind of a little bit limited. The company. It's kind of weird in a way. The company lets us have Eclipse, for example, which is a programming environment, as I'm sure you know. They will allow me to install the Java development environment, but I'm not allowed to install the Java runtime. So if I do, I can't use Java as a programming language. We're actually not allowed to install any programming languages other than Java application development, and that's kind of just by accident. So most of my programming is either in shell scripts or is actually written in VBA these days. which is kind of frustrating because it's kind of like I used to do Windows low-level programming. I used to do C programming in Windows 2, I think it was. Whatever came after Windows 3.86, which was a long time ago. And Windows these days is still kind of the same thing, but I can remember all that it could do. And it gets really frustrating when you go, I know the Windows can do this. I know that there's a system library that can do this, but how do I manage to get VBA to do it? But yeah. Your brother does VBA. Yeah. A lot of people sort of a lot of professional programmers kind of look down on VBA, but yeah, it's not great. There are better languages out there, but sometimes that's all you've got to do. And if you're working with Office, it can be, well, you can do quite a lot of sophisticated stuff with it. I actually wish that it would support proper class inheritance and do classes properly, and that's the one thing that I really sort of miss with it. It's really irritating that you can only do interfaces, you can't actually do full inheritance, but Java can be a security risk. It can. That is part of the reason why they don't do it. Don't allow it. It is easy to sort of, especially sort of JNI, which is the initiator, isn't it? Java Network Initiator, because you can trigger, or you can even download code. As I say, the fact that we've got it is kind of incidental. I can write a program in it, I just can't deploy it. But I mean, any language has got its security risks. VBA has one hell of a lot of security risks, because of course you can write VBA is attached to a document, whether it's an Excel document, PowerPoint document, or whatever. It's attached to it. So if you get something that's potentially malicious, you're sending what looks like a non-malicious thing around, like a document, and yet there's malicious code attached to it. Yes, it tries its best to protect you and things like that, but of course there's always somebody that will go, yeah, you can install this, or yeah, you can run this, without actually knowing what it is that it's trying to do. I haven't seen COBOL for a long time. We're not that bad at work. Most of our stuff is reasonably up to date. Oracle, reasonably latest version of Oracle. We're doing, Oracle Business Intelligence, these sorts of things. So most of it is written in up-to-date stuff in I was going to say 4GL. I don't know if it's 4GL or 5GL these days, languages. I'm not sure we have anything that's still around COBOL wise. Well, part of that perhaps is because not many people remember how to write COBOL. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a number cruncher, isn't it? It's COBOL, if I remember rightly. The last time I did any COBOL, and I can't remember any of it these days, was it was on an old CPM computer on 8-inch floppy disks. So I had the COBOL compiler was on an 8-inch floppy disk. But a lot of those old languages, I mean, even to some extent these days, a lot of the languages are so similar to each other, even the syntaxes are close, that I certainly found, even sort of 20 odd years ago, I can read most languages, and if necessary I can patch quite a few of them, because you don't actually necessarily have to understand the full syntax to patch something. To write it from scratch, yeah, you need to understand it a little bit, but COBOL, Pascal, what was the others they play with? Forth always used to be something that I found quite fun, because you never actually wrote a program in Forth, you just extended the operating system, which was kind of a weird concept. And well, there were ways of making it operate like a program, working like a program, but you ended up with Forth where all your programs were resident in the operating system and permanently, which was kind of a weird thing, but fun in a way. So what do you? Yeah, so I actually started with machine language, not even assembler, but machine language, and I've gone up from there since then. Basic, of course, as it was around at the time, which just about everybody used to know, and then C, C++, not C Sharp. I've never done any C Sharp. C++, COBOL, Fortran, Pascal. This was all when it was text. There wasn't much graphical when I started. And graphical programming itself is an art form these days, if you actually get down to it in low level. That sort of sneaked up on a lot of people. You can talk to people who do VBA, for example. You start talking about object orientated programming and they're going, what? What are you talking about? What's that? Why do I want to know that? And it's kind of like, you've been programming it for years. Because of course VBA is object orientated, even though most people don't realise it. I must admit, I didn't realise it for quite some time. There are times when I keep thinking, because there's you can get all sorts of stuff obviously for the PC these days that are free, like COBOL not interpreters, compilers and things. And half the time I keep thinking, it'd be fun in a way just to get one and shall we say, relive some of the old programming. Actually, one of the things I'm kind of tempted to do is to get something like 3 or 4 Raspberry Pis and install VAX VMS on them, and do some programming in that, because especially sort of database type work, because the VAXs were a fantastic machine. VPL. Oh, okay. Not something I've played about with. Isn't visual programming language. Yeah, the axes were actually something that still isn't. I don't think any other machine currently does. If you put 2 or 3 VAXs in a cluster, they operated like a single machine. And when you ran your program, you ran it on the virtual machine, and you didn't actually know where it was running, because the machine would, the cluster itself would parcel out the processes, the threads, to whichever machine happened to have some spare runtime at the time. And things like, you could literally go up, just unplug a machine, and your program would carry on running, because the virtual machine as it was would go, oh, that machine, that particular one's gone, I'll just run it over there instead. It was actually sort of fantastic for things like disaster recovery. And I keep thinking, I used to love working with them, and because of that capability, and I kind of feel like it would be interesting to try and start them up. The first vax I worked on was it was in sort of floor space. It would take up the size of about 6 double beds, and a Raspberry Pi has more processing power than that did. Oh, that's amazing. Bog-like territory. What was I thinking the other? No, where it starts to get like bog-like category, I think, is not so much in things like vaxes. It's things like the Amazon Dot and the Google Home and things like that, where you start talking to the things. The thing the language I want to have a play with myself at the moment is C++, not C++, rather C#. It's actually a language I've not actually touched at all, and I've got sort of no real knowledge of it, because I can write C and I can write C++ with a bit of difficulty, but C# is another whole new area which I'd like to have a play about with, especially as in the way in which you can interface between it and other languages like Lua. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. One of the things I want to have a play with is, I mentioned physical computing. I've got a couple of simulators here. Train Simulator. It's not Microsoft, it's Dovetail Games, and also Euro Truck Simulator. And what I'd love to be able to do with those is what I'd love to be able to do with those is actually to do things like take the gauges which are on screen and have them replicated as real gauges. So take the values out of the game and send them to a real device. I kind of find that fun to do, and the interface to those is a CDLL, dynamic load library, and the bit I can't get my mind around is how you wrap one of those in a C# managed code, and that's kind of stopped me for a bit, because I want to write in C# and yet I need to interface to C. And I know quite a few people have done things like wrap a Lua interface, so you can write Lua scripts that then you know can be called and used from within C#. So you can actually write, dynamically write scripts to do things in an easier manner than writing C# code. But I can't get my mind. I just can't wrap the concept around in my head. I'm getting a bit bored with closing these rings. I'm going to do some weaving. I'm trying to think now why. I was trying to remember what F# was. as a language. It's not around anymore, but it was around at a time. And I remember C# was actually Microsoft's implementation of C++, even though they had a C++ compiler. Because the plus is where the sharp bit came from. Tell you what I want to have a play with as well, and it's not, is it the Unity? Which is it? What is it? That's one of the game engines. I don't think it's Unity. I'm trying to think what the other game engine is, the big one. I kind of want to have a play about with it. It might be Unity now. I'm trying to think. Because I hadn't realised until just recently that the latest train simulator's written to use the engine as well. It's not, I don't think it's Unity. I cannot remember. It's really annoying me now, but I kind of, because it's you can download the development environment for free. You don't need a license to do it, and I'm kind of it might be interesting to have a play about with. Got a few sort of concepts in my mind that I'd potentially like to have a play about with. Yeah, I've done that right. God, I'm second guessing now. This is a fairly simple weave and I'm second guessing whether I've done it right or not. I kind of like Micromaille, working these tiny rings, but you really do need patience to do it. Why does that not look right? That goes under there. Come on, ring, go under. And that one goes under there as well, so they go under. That does not look right to me. It's not right, but I don't know why, so I'm going to take that off. Unreal, that's the one, thank you. It's the Unreal Engine. I knew I'd recognise it as soon as I saw it, but I didn't. Thank you for the prompt. Yeah, I think the others you kind of all have to. A lot of the others you have to pay for anyway, but the Unreal you can play with for free. I think you pay a license if you sell more than a certain amount, or you want support. Right, so why did that not go through there as it should have done? Try the other end. Possibly, yeah, that's possible. So we'll see if this sits any better on here. Yeah, no, that's okay. No, that's weird. Anyway. Oh, this this bit of bracelet. Yeah. That's kind of why I like working with these tiny rings, because you get something like this. It looks really good in the small size. I mean, if I use the same number of rings in the bigger sizes, this would be about 1.5 inches wide in the same number of rings, and it kind of doesn't look the same when you put less rings in. You know, it sort of looks like it's I won't say cheap, that's the wrong word I'm looking for. It sort of looks like it's not, it's got something missing. Whereas in the tiny rings like this, they look really good. The other thing is, you need an awful lot of rings to do it, and this bracelet, that one contains nearly 500 rings. This one will be close to that. I think this one's about 300 and odd, 350, 400, something like that. When it's at sort of normal bracelet length, about 7.5 inches. Not that way, that's it. I almost feel like working under a microscope like this. Not that I'm working under a microscope, but I'd like to work under a microscope. Yeah, that's better. Well, the thing I love about all of these sorts of weaves, and this one as well, is just how fluid it is. You know, when you sort of wrap it around your fingers and it moves so sort of fluidly, and this one's the same in a way. It's like metal cloth. So I'm studying it because I'm looking and thinking, I'm don't quite understand where to go next. I think I probably turned it over or something. It's generally easier to go from a particular place when you're doing a weave. Yeah, this way. It's generally easier. It's always going in the same direction, in the same way. If you turn it over or turn it around, then the rings are not quite positioned in the same way, and you sort of have to study it and work out just where your rings are supposed to go, as opposed to just sort of, oh, they go there, and dropping them in. These are so tiny, these rings, that it's really difficult to pick them up. Okay, that looks like I've done something wrong. because I've got kind of like a knot. So what do I manage to do here? I don't even know which ring I put in, never mind which one it is that's wrong. Yeah, it's that one there. This is one of the simpler weaves and I can't even get it right. That's better. I don't know how I managed to tie that in a complete knot, but I seem to have done. I seem to have had. There. It seems like I managed it. No, I've done something wrong again there. Yeah, what I've done. Ah, that's what I'm doing wrong. I'm putting the ring through the wrong way. That's it's trying to put a twist in it that shouldn't be there. And I want to do that so that that ring lies like that. Yeah, that's it, I think. Well, we'll find out. We'll put one of these on. If it doesn't escape off the desk. Alright. This is a problem you don't tend to have when you're doing it with larger rings, because you can actually get hold of them a lot easier. Here I was trying to put a ring on and the pliers were actually in the way. Because these rings are so small, the size of the jaws of the pliers are almost the same size as the ring. There we go, get it on. Oh dear, it is not my night tonight. No, it's not my night tonight. I don't think I've put more than about half a dozen rings on here, and I've had problems with just about every single one of them. What is going wrong with me tonight? Okay, I've now got to find the join, which I can't see. There it is. Okay, right, let's take another look at this. This is not a hard weave. I am making it look really difficult though. That wants to go through there, and through there, and through that one. And then I want to pick up and have another new ring in. I'm losing more of these than I'm actually weaving. And then that goes around there like that, and that looks better. Right, okay. I got it in my head now, which is the right way to do this. So through that one, and through that one, and through that one. There we go. Okay, what I'm doing is I am actually just running it through my fingers. Yes, I enjoy running it through my fingers, but by doing that you can feel if a ring isn't sitting right, because it just sort of sticks in you, and you can feel therefore if you've not woven a ring correctly in a lot of cases, and that's what I'm just running it through my fingers for, so I can feel that. Because correcting it after the fact is can be quite a challenge. Because of this small ring size, because you can't actually get the pliers in very easily to open or close a ring that's in the middle of the weave, because there isn't that much space to get these. Even though these pliers are fairly fine nosed, when you start trying to get them in the middle of the weave, there they feel like they're 16 feet across. Like trying to put pearlers down with wearing boxing gloves. Yeah. Yeah, that would. Let me just do before you try. Let me just do a permit command for you, Incredible Wolfie, so that you don't get timed out. Where's my tab? There we go. Yes, I'd be interested in taking a look, Incredible Wolfie. It's always interesting to see what people do, and sometimes there's you go, yeah, I could just do with one of those, whatever that is. I mean, that's how I started doing this in the first place. Chainmail is because I saw somebody on Twitch doing it, and I thought that looks interesting, and I bought some from him, and was so fascinated by it that I decided to have a go. And I've been doing it ever since. Not that it means I'm about to do any iron work, but you might be surprised. What are you going to tell me? You've either got a laser cutter or you've got a water jet cutter. And one of the things I am thinking about doing either late this year or early next year is some flame work, and that will require me to get an oxypropane torch, an oxygen generator, some ventilation equipment and some other bits and pieces. Guess how much that comes to roughly? And one of the things I've always sort of been potentially interested in doing is getting myself a laser cutter. Although to cut metal it will of course be a really powerful laser cutter. I have a tiny one actually in a box over here that I need to build, but I'm more interested in doing wood raster pyrography with a laser. Let's have a look at. Well, you've got a lot of links there. Hey, that's nice. That's the birds. I shall have to show that to Lady Zara. Yeah. Welcome. That's nice. I like that. Of course, you can do that with a fretsaw, powered fretsaw. It would be probably a lot harder than you're doing it. What are you actually doing it with? Is it a water jet cutter that you're using for this? Yeah, that's good. I like that. On Instagram, yeah. Oh, it's a laser, is it? It will be a powerful laser then to cut 22mm iron. I will show those to Lady Zara afterwards. Oh, you get to play. Ah, I see. So, what sort of price are you, or is there a place which gives prices for them, Incredible Wolfie? I can see that sort of thing being something Lady Zara might be interested in. Although I must admit she'd probably be more interested in it if it had pussycats on it. You want to let me have that website then, Incredible Wolfie? I'll pass it on. So I'm kind of laughing because of course you said it's very simple. It is when you know how to do it. I mean, I suspect you're using a vector drawing program of some kind. Oh, okay. Just a minute, let me do that again. Oh, yeah, I'm sure you could, but I would say don't sell yourself short. It's surprising, you know. Yes, it's easy. It's potentially easy enough to do, but using the tools and having the ability to actually come up with the design are two different things. Okay, thank you very much for the for that link. I shall pass it on to Lady Zara. I'm sure she might like to take a look. I've just done something that I didn't mean to do. I said it's not my night tonight with these. I've just put 2 rings on there and I should only put 1 on. Let's get one of them off. I can't get the things on, and then when you do get them on you can't get the things off. Thank you. Oh, that's why it's easy. It's a case of here's one I prepared earlier. Talking of cats, and here's one I did earlier. If I can get that without the reflections. It's not in focus, unfortunately, because the camera's focused for the jewellery. But that's one I finished earlier this week. So you use an art program to take a random picture that you've actually got permission to use, of course, and then make it black and white. Oh yeah, no, I gathered what it is. I mean, of course, you're not using somebody else's image without their permission, so it's one of your own, or it's one that you know. It's in some ways it's sort of similar. That pipeline is a little bit similar to what I occasionally do with pyrography, or actually with any monochrome work. Is I do the same thing. I'll take the image I want to use. I will reduce it. I'll grayscale it. In my particular case, and then do some touch-up work to make it usable for me. And of course, in your case, you're going to actually take it to full black and white, and then I guess use a vector around the outside so that the laser can follow the vectors. Pyrography, yes, that's right. Bubbles the monkey. Let me do this line. I'll show you a bit better. Yeah, that's Theo the kitten. He's just over a year old now. and he's been with us since a kitten. He was sort of rescued from a home that would not necessarily have done him much good, shall we say, if he'd have stayed. Probably wouldn't have been there for very long if he had have stayed. So he was rescued. He's been with us for a year. He's a friendly little chap. He's a sort of he's a cat you can turn upside down and carry him like a baby, and he purrs the instant you touch him. So let me bring the camera up a little bit so I can show you the whole picture. It should be a bit more in. Is that a bit more in focus? There we go. He happens to be ginger as well, so it's almost a colour pyrography of him. He's a little bit more ginger than this is, but is he around? No, it's not around, otherwise I'd bring him up on screen. Yeah, you've missed the whole thing. Because this was done solely on stream. I didn't do any of it off stream, and finished probably I think it was either Monday or Tuesday of this week. And because I want to do some airbrushing next, I've been I don't have time after work to set up for airbrushing, so I have just been doing the chainmail for the rest of this week. I was going to say just to fill in the time. That's not exactly true, because there's lots of things I could do, but I haven't done chainmail for a while, so I thought I'd do that as well. This was kind of a new style for me as well, because when I've done the other cats, if you remember, I did them, they were black and white cats, and I did them using a texturing type technique where the tool actually cuts into the wood slightly and creates like a fur texture. This one I wanted to practice doing it flat, so there's no texturing on this at all, and that was something that was a new technique to me, to do it like that, and it's proved a challenge to do, but an interesting one. Yeah, now that's where you say sort of it's just as simple as that, Incredible Wolfie. There's lots of people can't do that. Yes, it seems simple to take a deer and a tree and put the two together, or half a dozen birds and put them on the same tree branch. There's a lot of people can't do it, and even if they have the idea, they can't line them up properly, say on a branch, so that they look natural, or to tell a story, like they're looking at each other or that sort of thing. A lot of people can't do it. I know it's kind of hard to, when you can do it and it really feels so simple to do. It's really hard sometimes to understand that. Have you seen any of the carving, Bubbles the Monkey? I think. What did I do? Oh, yeah. You want to see? I guess you want to see that. Where have I put it? He says. Bear with me a second. Oh, there's Junie down there. I finished the carving not so long ago, just before I did that, and actually I've done glass. I'll tell you something I've done glass engraving on stream. So while you've been away, so yeah, Bubbles, but you can do it as well. So I did a bit of glass engraving, and this should be a relatively recognisable sort of thing. So that was an easy bit of glass engraving, so I decided to do something a little bit more complicated. So we've got this one isn't fantastically good, to be honest, but it's trouble with glass engraving is you can't really see it without something behind it. Here we go, I've got a bit of black cloth, so there we go, that makes it a bit easier to see. Let me close that. So we've got a seahorse on that side, and I've got an angel sort of fish on this side, and actually the bit that I'm most proud of is a bit of seaweed. Because when you see it, it's not showing up so well on camera, but this here looks really three-dimensional. But I've got some new high-speed polishers, and I was playing about with them on this this piece. So this was just kind of playing about. Indeed, Bubbles the monkey. That's exactly what it is. I'm actually toying with the idea of putting that particular thing up on Etsy, just to put that one up for sale on Etsy. But I'm just toying with the idea at the moment, rather than keeping it for myself. Oh, there it is. I knew I had this around somewhere. I think you might have seen this one, because I think I started it before I stopped streaming for a while, and I finished this one. So we've got, as it was, Amber the Owl, with a little bit of pyrography applied just to give the highlights there, and on the claws. It does. In here, as I say, I'm not sure how it shows up on camera, but here it really looks like there's two pieces of seaweed and one twist. It really looks a bit three-dimensional here, and I'm rather proud of it in that particular thing. So yes, Amber the Owl, which has finally got finished. Here's something else I've been playing with. Have you ever seen diamond dots? I'm not sure whether you've seen them. This isn't diamond dots. This is a clown, but I've sort of been playing with these, a bit like painting by numbers. But this is just kind of nice. I don't call this particularly a craft or anything. This is just sort of, you know, like painting by numbers. You know, you can't really go wrong. But this is just sticking plastic dots on some backgrounds, but you create some really nice pictures, and they sparkle fantastically. So when you sort of put this up against a wall and you walk past it, it really sort of jumps out at you. Let me get rid of the hair off of there. Yeah, it is. It's really sparkly. This one is, the whole picture is needs to. I've not finished it. I'm not even halfway done, but it's the whole picture is dots on a lot of them. Just a small section, like just to make it up on another one. It might be just the eye that you're doing dots, so you might do a face, but the eye is printed. This one's all dots. And they're quite good fun to do. It's a very repetitive thing, sort of. Using, well, this is you know, picking up using a tool, picking up a dot like that, sticking it down, doing it again, doing it again, it's a really repetitive thing. But because it's really repetitive, it's the sort of thing where you can enjoy doing it, you know, listening to music or something else, and your brain relaxes and sort of turns off a little bit, and it's quite good fun to do. I kind of when I'm doing this, I'll be sort of like, I've got I'm just going to fill this area in. Well, let's just go. I end up spending hours doing these sorts of things, just because it'll be, I'll tell you what, I'll just do this bit, and it's sort of 2 o'clock in the morning, and I really should go to bed. I've done a few now of those, and I've got about 8 of it. I've got about 8 of them that cost me £20, I think, from eBay, and it was. I came across them because I don't know, on YouTube for some reason. Oh no, it wasn't. It was one of the suppliers I get some of the cross stitch from. It was a newsletter, and they were selling the kits, the diamond dot kits, and it was something like £20 for a kit. And I thought, oh, look interesting, but I'm not paying £20 for a kit. And I just thought, oh, well, I'll see if there's anything on not on eBay, on Amazon. And I'll just see if there's anything on Amazon. You know, sometimes some odd people sell them cheaper. And I came across the clowns, and it was kind of like £1.50 or £2 or £2.50. So I ended up buying about 8 of them, with pictures that I just happened to like, for about £20. And they sort of just they're still sat there. You know, I'm doing them sort of gradually, but it's and I've no idea whether a real diamond dots one is more sparkly or different, but that's, you know, for me that's good enough. Your beads have been gathering dust. Yeah, I'm kind of wary. I love the beads. I mean, I like bead weaving, so I like the. You've seen me do the bracelets with the Miyuki beads, and I love those 11 O's. And I love, well, all the beads. You know, it's kind of like it's the old joke. You know, I do not get distracted very. Oh, shiny. That's kind of me with beads. You know, it's I would have thousands of them, but the only thing about it is that apart from the taking up the space, is you know, that I've just got so many things that I can do that I don't want to start doing more with beads than I currently do, just because I know I'd end up with a whole collection of the things, and I just wouldn't have time to do it. You know, it's like I've got the chainmaille, I've got so I've got a lot of rings in various sizes and colours and metals. So, you know, there's this bright aluminium, anodized aluminium. I've got sterling silver here. This is sterling silver here. Sterling silver, stainless steel. I keep mixing those two up. This is niobium. I've done it with titanium. So I've got a whole sort of series of rings, and it's you know, keep making extra things. Then I've got the wood carving, and I do carving both with chisels and rotary tools. Then there's the glass engraving. There's the hair bushing, which I'm going to get into this weekend. I've got something like about 100 plus cross stitch and needle point type kits as well. That well, quite frankly, I've got them because Lady Zara wanted the pictures that they will become, because she liked the pictures and she doesn't have the patience to do stitching, so it's me. You've been playing with cross stitch and an app. Oh, the cross stitch world app. Yeah. Okay. That restocking of materials is kind of why I like doing art on computer, because I don't actually have to get messy paints out and things like that. But I'm gonna have a play. But yeah, I've just got so much that I'm sort of, and as I mentioned a short while ago to Incredible Wolfie, I am kind of looking maybe later this year to, or early next year, sometime next year perhaps, to do some flame work, some glass blowing basically. it's glass blowing is something that has fascinated me for since I was a little kid. The earliest memory of glass blowing I've got was in the Isle of Man on a family holiday, where with parents, of course, and I must have been younger than 10 anyway. And I can remember on an evening there was a shop where there was a glassblower working in the window, if you like, and making things, and it got to the point where they were dragging me away from the window to go and do things like eat or go somewhere else, and I've been fascinated with it ever since. And it's been sort of something that I'll have said before now, but I think probably the last time you were around Bubbles the Monkey, I'd have been saying, yeah, I'm really fascinated by it because I've seen the people on Twitch, but I'm not going to do it. Actually, I think there was one stream where AD Fall Guy just came back with one comment, which was which was quite hilarious at the time. But I think he's proven to be right. But I was watching. The change happened because I was watching one of the glass blowers on Twitch, and somebody asked him a question, and he started to explain how to start. Someone would start glass blowing, and he sort of mentioned some of the starting equipment, and I looked at it, and it was relatively cheap. And then I thought, but I want to be a little bit more professional about starting, shall we say. And so I looked at sort of the prices then, and of the slightly more professional equipment, and they're not cheap, but they weren't necessarily as expensive as I might have first sort of thought. I was thinking, I'd have been thinking like 10,000 euros, for example, and it's not. It's sub 1,000 euros. So it became sort of more practical to have, to think about doing it. So, but I am not daft, so I'm going to do. My next thing is to do a one-day course, kind of like a taster, if you like, of glass blowing, and to see if I actually like working with glass before I go out and spend that sort of money. But if I do, then I kind of intend to do that, and that'll be something I do on stream as well, because I tend to share everything I do these days. Well, not everything, but I tend to share most of the crafts these days on stream. And so glasswork, which has fascinated me for years, I might actually start and do. Of course, if I do that, that might be the end of carving and pyrography and engraving and anything else, because I'll be doing that a lot. But yeah. Oh dear, can't keep hold of these rings. So have you thought about doing any other different crafts these days, Bubbles the Monkey, now that you're not necessarily always doing the perlers? And I know, of course, full-time study is quite exhausting, but now that you're sort of potentially looking for, I guess, different inspirations to get you back into doing things. Because that's, I don't want two on there. That's kind of why I started streaming again. I sort of wanted to do art again, having not done it for a long time, for over a year, and I knew that what I needed was something that would actually make me do it, and so that's why I kind of started streaming again. Partly because I miss doing it and talking to everybody, but also the streaming itself means that I've got to do something on stream, which means I actually had to do some art and what have you, not just sit and watch videos of other people doing it. I've left this camera way up there, and it's probably makes it really hard to see what I'm doing, so I shall bring it down again in a moment when I can manage to complete this row. Because these rings are so small and the wire diameter is so tiny, when you're trying to pick them up with pliers, you can't quite get the maximum diameter of the wire, because the edge of the pliers are sort of on the desk, and it means that when you try and pick them up, they just squish out basically all over the place. It's a little bit frustrating. Oh, that's a pity. Whoever wrecked your webcam ought to be slapped around the face for doing something like that. That's not very nice of them. But yeah, it's, you know, real life is what stopped me streaming as well. But it's sort of, I won't say it's in the blood now, but it's kind of, I got to the point of actually sort of missing it, if you see what I mean. It was kind of like, it would get to like 10 o'clock at night and I'd go, I haven't done anything tonight. I could have been doing something, and I could have been streaming, and it was gradually getting more and more to that sort of, I could have been doing that, and it was sort of really getting frustrating until I got the cameras back out and started setting them up. At which point I found it wasn't as easy to start up again, just because my computer is now over there, 6 feet that way, and I'm here, and that meant cameras had to be extended and microphones had to be adjusted, and I had to have some way of remote controlling the stream and being able to see chat when I can't see it over there because I wear glasses and I can't read at that sort of distance. I'd kind of suggest you get another webcam. I was about to say they're not that expensive. That's not a very good thing to say, because it's a relative thing, is that, isn't it? I mean, if you don't, I guess especially if you're in full-time education, lots of things that some people might not find expensive are because you just don't have the free cash to be able to spend them. But something hopefully sort of a reason. Cameras are coming down a bit in price these days for sort of reasonable resolutions. I kind of find these days as well, it's streaming is actually, I actually find streaming to be quite relaxing, daft as it sounds. You know, I'm running running sort of the camera and, you know, doing all the technical setup and presenting and doing something whilst I'm presenting is it seems daft to say that's relaxing, but it kind of is. And I know at work it's also at work, actually streaming has been helpful at work, because I mean, presenting was never something I had a particular issue or difficulty with, because at one point in my career, for over a year and a half, I spent a year and a half lecturing. So I stood up at the front of a class teaching adults, so the sort of thing you're doing, if you like, Bubbles the Monkey, you know, in a class. So not kids, but people who know what they're talking about. And actually, it was what I was teaching was people that knew what they were talking about. So I've never particularly had a, you know, from that I've never particularly had a problem with presentations and things, but just the thing about talking and interacting with the stream, whether I'm just doing it to a camera and there's nobody else around here, it's something that gives you confidence in a way, and I find I can do things like presentations at work become more like streaming. To the point where I have to be careful occasionally not to do a sign-off or not to throw an advert in. Thank you very much, Bubbles the Monkey. So what you're saying is, my streams put you to sleep. No, I know what you mean, and thank you for the compliment. That wants to go through there, and I want to pick up. Yeah. I keep forgetting with this weave that one of the it's for me it's actually better to open the rings in the other direction to the way I've got them open now. When you open a ring, you twist it to increase the gap, or to make a gap between the two ends of the wire that form the ring. And most people, even left-handed people, tend to open them anti-clockwise, like you twist that way. And I do the same thing, although I'm not left-handed. And for this weave, just the way you present it, it would actually be better to open the rings clockwise, because of the way in which the two ends sort of go when you're holding one. So if I hold this one here, the right hand side is above the left hand side, and it's kind of awkward to sort of be able to feed that in. As you can see, I'm kind of twisting around to try and do it. If I open it the other way, it kind of almost naturally goes through on this weave. I've put that. Okay. So I'm just studying that. I have somehow managed to miss a ring off, miss two rings off of that. It's all this exciting chat, you see. I'm so busy engaging in this exciting chat that I've actually woven this completely, not completely wrong, but miss out some of the rings that I meant to put on. Luckily I've got a big pile of them here. Yeah, the only thing is though, before the stream, or right early on in the stream, what I did was I opened all the ones I needed opening for this bracelet, and I started closing them. Then I got bored of closing rings and started weaving. So all I've got left are the ones that I need closing, and so unfortunately for this particular bracelet I've missed that step. I don't want to sort of go and take all the ones that I've opened and twist them the other way, because for two reasons. One being that you can end up work hardening them, and they then are more easy, they're more likely to snap. But also I just don't want to do that work twice. You know, I've done it once. I don't want to end up trying to do it again. Something's odd about that. I've somehow managed to I don't know if I somehow managed to get this in the wrong. I'm adding these rings to the wrong side somehow. Never mind. I'll what am I doing? I am lost for a second. Yeah, I'm lost. What am I doing with this? I've lost where I am in the pattern. So okay. I think I can see where I am supposed to go. It is really odd how such a simple weave can confuse you. And I'm still looking at this thinking, I'm still confused. Is that meant to come up through there? Like that. No, it's not. I don't think so. No, because that's meant to lay on top of there. So that doesn't... That's meant to go there like that. Okay, so something's missing. You know what I'm going to do is I can't actually see what's wrong with that. There is something wrong with it, but I can't see what's wrong with it. So I'm going to undo that bit from there. Now, do I want that ring off of there as well? Yes, I want that ring off of there as well. Right. So that end's okay, and that end's okay, so right. So where do I want to go with this? This end or that end? Tonight I seem to be spending more time studying this, trying to work out where I'm supposed to, how I'm supposed to weave this than anything else. It's such a simple weave. Well, this is me repeating what Incredible Wolfie said, isn't it? It's, you know, it's simple. Yeah, it is simple, but I can't do it. It's such a simple weave, but I just can't get that simple weave right. Not being able to hold it, it doesn't help, of course, but okay. What's going on here? What's going on there? Something's wrong. You know what? I am wondering. Oh, there. It's. Huh. Okay. You know what? I'm going to leave it tonight because I think I'm getting tired, and I think that's not helping, to say the least. There is something weird about that end there. There we go. Now then, that needs there's a ring missing off of there. There. There's a ring missing there. Okay. Put this ring in because I think. See if I can do this without lifting it off the desk, which I think is probably, no, it's not going to happen. So let's lift it off the desk. I think that wants to go through there. What I'm trying to do is leave it on the desk. That way then I don't disturb the positioning of the other rings, and I can hopefully see where they're meant to go. Right. I'll close this ring and let's see if I've got it in the right place. I've got a real strong feeling I'm missing something, but we'll see. Put it back down like that. There. No, that looks okay. Right. Come on, rings. They're twisting in an odd way. There we go. Right, so that's a length. Oh dear. Yes, I'm going to give up for tonight. I am not doing so well. I think I must be. Well, I probably am getting tired, and that's making it more harder than it should do. So I am going to wrap it up here. I'm going to do what is now sort of almost traditional. Well, that's the advert. I'm going to explain about what's down at the bottom there. Just point out to anybody that's watching. My website is aragonart.com. That's work in progress, but it has some information about some of the pieces, like the pyrography in particular, and some of the chainmail, as to where the inspiration came from and why they are particularly how they are, and you know, the thoughts about them, as well as a little bit about some of the art forms themselves, like what is pyrography. YouTube is on there as well, because I've got something like 700 hours of past broadcasts all recorded on my PC, and apart from the fact that I need the disk space back, and of course Twitch has lost, well, not lost them, it's thrown them away, so I'm gradually uploading all the old archive onto YouTube. So if you want to see some of the very earliest things in real time, this is, so it's the actual broadcasts which are just recorded, 2 hours long, 2.5 hours long. Of course, you can always watch them in bits. Then if you want to see some of those and see some of the earlier pyrography pieces, for example, then they are gradually going up there. Emmy Edgar, good evening, welcome. Nice to see you. You've been here before, I believe. Nice to see you again. Unfortunately, I am just wrapping up. I'm going to point out the shop there, of course, aragonart.etsy.com, because things like these, not these particular, because they're not there yet, but chainmail and bead. Is there any bead stuff on there? No, there's some crystal work on there, and chainmail is jewellery is available there if you would like to consider buying some. It has been said this evening that the pieces are cheap, but the postage is expensive. Unfortunately, the postage is what it is, but take a look. You might find it interesting. All the pictures here, by the way, that you see of jewellery just there, they're all done on stream, and most of those are available in the shop. And Twitter, of course. I tweet about the stream. That's about it. So if you want to know about the stream, when it's going to go live, or if I'm not going to go live, or if there's something new coming, that's the place to follow if you want to do it. And I'm going to point out, they're up there, aren't they? The two buttons are up there. Follow the stream. It'd be nice if you did. You get notifications when I'm live, and of course it appears in your favourites, so you'll see me there. It'd be nice if I was a favourite, but anyway. There's also the subscribe button. Yes, I've got a subscribe button. I don't usually mention it apart from the end of the stream, but if you'd like to consider subscribing. The subscriptions go towards buying materials and things that are used in the streaming, so things like wood, pyrography tools. Actually, wood's not as cheap as it sounds. It doesn't grow on trees after all. It is trees, but it doesn't grow on trees. Or things like the engraving tools and stuff like that. So that's what it gets used from. And with that, I'm going to say tomorrow I will be going live, hopefully around about 1900 hours GMT, not GMT, British Summer Time. That's time in the UK at the moment, which is about 1800 hours GMT, but it could be between 18 and 1900 hours GMT. Unfortunately, just depending on how the day has gone and when I get in for meals and things. I am hoping tomorrow night to be able to do some airbrushing. Again, now an airbrush, which should be fun because I haven't done any for 2 years, and I'm going to try and do some black and white work, which is not necessarily the easiest of things. Airbrushing with white paint is sounds easy. White is the hardest colour to airbrush with because the paint is so thick, relatively speaking. It's got so much pigment in it to make it white, so it becomes a challenge to do. But I love the monochrome work, so I'm going to try and do something of that. I'm not quite sure. Baby Tears, you've changed your name as well, have you? So we had Incredible Wolfie, who was Super Speedy, who's changed his name. So welcome, Baby Tears. Nice to see you again. Yeah. Unfortunately, you've caught me just at the end. It'd be nice to see you around early. Perhaps you'll pop in tomorrow night when I'm doing the airbrushing. Yeah. Didn't you used to be moderator? Can't remember. But of course, under the new name, you might not be. Yeah, I'm sorry that you caught me late as well. I'm making a mess of it, so it's time to recognise the fact that I've probably done it for tonight. I've had a long day at work today, and then come and stream, and I'm really starting to sort of mess it up a bit and lose track of where I am, and it just is. It's not worth continuing because I just end up making more and more mistakes. Might be fun for you guys to watch, but it isn't so much fun to me when I've got to keep on doing what I've just done and redoing it and then undoing it and redoing it and so on. Right, so I shall look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow night. I don't know what the picture's going to be, but I'm fairly sure I'm going to do some monochrome. And I think I'm going to make sure I've got everything set up well in advance of the stream, just in case. I'm not quite sure yet because it's going to be a challenge, because the monitor and the camera that's in front of me, camera I can maybe put there, but the monitor that I'm using to put the stream there can't go there because the easel's going to go in front of me. So I'm going to have to find somewhere to put that, and then I've got to get the camera so you can see the easel. And I've got to get the remote control, and the microphone's got to. It's going to be an interesting time tomorrow, I think. So let's hope it's going to be done, and it's going to be a successful stream. We shall see. I'm going to say good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.